Hey, today I want to go over the ability for a user to log in and completely change the page, and also how to set up Stripe for taking payments in-app and for paying out money to bank accounts. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing I need to do is I need another web page. I need another mobile page. So I'm going to make a page called Home, and this page is essentially where you go to after you log in. So I copied everything from login, and I'm going to change the class name to Home. I don't need any of these methods, and I don't really need anything in here, with the exception of some text to let me know I got here. So I'm going to say Home, and I'm going to save this file as capital H, home.js. Now we have that page. Now in login, I'm going to have the button log you in and send you to the home page. So of course I'm going to need to import that. So import home from /home. So I'm going to reload the app. Okay, so nothing's broken. We did that correctly. And now I want to go ahead and move forward. Now I'm going to scroll down to the login function. And currently we have a touchable highlight assigned to trigger this method called submit_me. And submit_me has a function from Firebase, sign in with email and password. Now, after this is a success, after this then executes, we have this alert here. And this says you are now logged in. Now, really, I don't want that. I want this to send us somewhere else. So the way you send someone somewhere is, as you know, this.props.navigator.push. And we're sending them somewhere, and the way you do that is component, and the place we're sending them, which is home. And that's it. Now, this should work initially. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to my app, and I'm going to press the word sign in. It says this is not working. Okay, so another thing I want you to notice that I did is I went to the login and I added my email and password in state so that I don't have to type it over and over in case I get some bugs and it gets annoying typing in my password over. So that's there. Now the issue, alright, so we don't know what the issue is, right? So I'm going to go ahead and debug this. So I'm going to put a debugger before this executes. Now, this is saying after Firebase says the person's email and password was correct, execute this, and that's where it breaks. So I'm going to write debugger here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to turn on debugger. It opened up a little website for me. I'm going to inspect element. I'm going to make this go under. Cool. You hit the console. I'm going to clear this. Alright, so let's go ahead and try this again. I'm going to press sign in. Now this pause, and that's what we want. So now the first thing I'm going to do is that I know that this next thing was broken, and it's this.props.navigator. I'm going to type this. And this isn't what this is supposed to be. This currently is supposed to be the class login, which is up here. Whenever we type this.props.navigator, this is the login, or this is the class that we're coming from. And this is because the keyword this changes depending on what we're inside of. So we're inside of the Firebase function, or the Firebase class, and this there is different. I know this sounds a little bit weird, but we can do two things to keep track of this. We can either set a variable called that equal to what this was on the outside of this, or we can instead change Firebase to be a fat arrow function. So currently we can say we have function user, we have our code in here. Now we can do this, or we can do this. And this is called the fat arrow function. And a fat arrow function essentially says whatever this keyword was on the outside remains this keyword on the inside. So this would be good enough to solve this. Pardon my use of this or that. This is kind of hard to discuss. The keyword "this" is kind of hard to discuss without saying the word "this." But either way. So I'm going to change this to an arrow function. The way you do that is just like that. And now this keyword should be what this should be. So now I'm going to save. I'm going to go back and I'm going to reload. I'm going to press sign in. Sweet, and it took us to home. Now there is one problem with this, and the problem is that in React Native, if I pinch the top left hand side, it will take me back to login, and I do not want that. I want so that after you log in, no matter which way you swipe, you don't go back to this sign-in page. I want to be outside of this flow. And the way you do that is provided to you by React Native, and there's something called immediately reset route stack. So if you remember, the route of pages in a mobile app is essentially an array, and we're pushing to the end of that array a new page. Now, the way to completely reset it is with this function, and you can control the history of the pages. So if you want that when they press this button, they get a particular stack of pages, you can do this. However, we just want to make it one page. We just want to say that when they press login, they go to the home page. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And instead of writing this.props.navigator.push, I'm going to write this.props.navigator.immediately reset route stack. And now I shouldn't be able to log in. So I'm going to reload my app. Currently logged out. I press sign in. I still go to home. But now notice I can't pinch the top left hand side. All right, fantastic. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is Stripe.